This game's not won on social media. This game's not won on telephones. This game is won with shoulder pads, helmets, mouth guards, and sweat. That's how the game is won.
Welcome to week 8 of the Bill Neese's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, with us, head coach Bill Neese, and coach coming off a real good win on Friday. Indians defeat Xenia 17-7. There are a lot of good things that we can talk about in that game, but right just from the outshoot, good to get a win here at home.
And going into the game, we discussed three things. We wanted to really emphasize three things, and surprisingly, it was a re-emphasis of our big plays, re-emphasis of the turnovers, but more importantly, I think special teams also, because I think there's a couple spots in our special teams that we thought we might be able to take advantage, and or number two, we thought that we were getting a little rusty with our stuff, that we had to kind of draw our attention to stuff and pick it up. Well, the big thing with special teams I tried to emphasize to our guys was that we just got to execute what we do. And I thought we did a great job. For example, our punt unit, we punted 4 times and we had a net return yardage of 3 yards. We averaged 42 yards a punt. So that means we were able to gain 42 yards every time we punted. I thought that was sensational. I think Josh Heath is continuing to be an outstanding kicker for us. He's got another field goal for us. He scored 2 more points, and he put 3 in the end zone. So we were very happy with what was going on with that. The other thing is the big plays. We ended up and had 5 big plays, explosive plays over 20 yards. They only had 1, and I think that's got a lot to do with the fact that 4 of our 5 offensive linemen graded out above 85%. But more importantly, 5 of our 6 receivers, the perimeter guys that are blocking, they graded out over 85%. So that tells us that we're getting a lot of people. And I've told them before, I said, if we've got a running back, if Josiah Medley comes back and he runs a 4.3, he doesn't need anybody's help to make a big play. I said, we got a guy, maybe it's a 4.7, he's going to need some help. So we got to get down there, get in those channels, get him free, and then get him that last block to finish it off. And I thought they did a great job of embracing that, as we went into the game.
Coach, you talk about big plays, and we'll talk about those here just shortly. But as the game started, it was, they moved the ball down pretty methodically, and what seemed like probably an 8-9 minute drive, they score. That was the last score that they got of the night, and really our defense the whole night, defensive line even into our secondary, really made some. Okay, we talk about your 5 or 6 big plays you talk about, but really did make some big plays, including the end of the first half there.
Right before that half, that was big.
That was huge.
That was massive. It was massive that we got out of there with no points. They got a chunk on us. They're one big play. They hit us for a 20-yard run, and they got down there, and then we stiffened up, and fortunately. One time they had the running back fall down. 2 other times it was us. 2 other times our inside linebacker scraped over, made a heck of a play, and we're able just to capture that thing. So I thought that going into halftime, knowing that we were getting the ball in the second half coming back was massive for us in terms of attitude, emotion, etc.
One of those strange scenarios that on the scoreboard we're down 7-3, but you almost felt like we were winning, because the momentum had shifted to us and we were able to carry that over.
Well, I think so, and as you talk about our defense, it was kind of a nice mixture when you looked at the stats at the end of the game, and the mixture was that our 4 linebackers combined for 35 tackles, which is an extremely great deal, 35 tackles. But then the front end of it, our defensive line ended up with 20 tackles, which is that's another outstanding game, but they had 6 tackles for losses, which were big, 2 batted down passes. And then at the back end, that's what you like, and that is our secondary only had 12 tackles, which means that they weren't getting a lot of action. But the action they were getting a lot of times was mostly, as we looked at their tackles, there was 12 tackles, but almost 90% of them were on pass plays. There was a lot of pass plays where they were able to just throw the ball, hit it, and boom, we put it down on the ground for 0 yak yardage. So we were happy with our secondary, with the amount of yak yardage that we did not give up.
Well, let's talk about your defense again in another crucial stop, 4th and short in the fourth quarter. They're driving to try to get some momentum going here, and in a 4th and short situation, we stifle them and get the ball back on turnover.
Yeah, that was massive. Totally massive. And I'll tell you what, you could just feel the intensity down the field as those guys came over with the sticks, and that guy was stretching out. I think they kind of over dramatized it a little bit as they were going through. And I kept looking over, going, man, I thought that it looks like it's going to be short. It was probably the shortest amount you could possibly do without pulling out the proverbial credit card. Putting that in there.
Well, Coach, you look at also, talk about turnovers, big turnover, big interception by John Hess there. Also, again, we were able to turn that turnover into some points.
Yeah, and that's a great deal with field position right there. We were able to, to hit a play. They tried to get a play action pass, and John played it perfectly as he was supposed to. He was needed to be exactly where he was, and Isaiah Martin had a great game, I thought, against one of the best offensive linemen in the state of Ohio. That Funk kid has got a lot of offers. He's a big cat, and he was walking on the field. And Isaiah, had 2 or 3 batted passes, also had a couple quarterback hurries, and had 6 tackles for the game. Now I know a lot of times on runs, he's not assigned to block the guy over him. He's assigned to block the guy inside of him. But on pass plays, threw the ball 26 times. I thought Isaiah, reckoned himself pretty well.
We sure did. I thought, your defensive line continued to they get better, Coach. And you can see it each game. And they created havoc on Friday night that I think their quarterback made them a little uncomfortable.
Well, that's what that's our whole goal. Is just to try to get people as uncomfortable as possible. And those guys are probably, they're really understanding. And I know they did before, but they're really understanding now the concept of putting that work in on every play, wherever it's going, because you just never know. Where if it's going to come back. If somebody's going to flush that quarterback, he's going to flush into you, and you're not in the right spot. So you got to make sure that you're rushing in your lanes and you're doing what you're supposed to do based on what the defense tells you.
Well, we switch over and talk offense. I know you talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the show, but wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't talk about Kai Warner and the big plays that he made. You look at the scores that he scored a couple of touchdowns, but there was a big first down that he got late there in the fourth quarter that was I think we're 4th and 6, and he ran a little boot on the outside, and he was able to get just enough, and he made a big play. Of course, he had people blocking for him. It was a team group, but there's no question.
Yeah, he had some people helping, but he also had some athletic ability helping also at the same time. And he had a great night, an interesting night, because we actually called 8 passes during the course of the game. I know, if somebody said, "Hey, you only threw one ball, one pass the whole game." We actually called 8 passes, but you come up to the line of scrimmage, and there's certain checkoffs that you do, certain things that you do when you come up to the line of scrimmage, and they've only got 5 guys in a box, so they got a light box. Okay, you're going to check into a run. There's no sense throwing a ball. When you have that many people, playing that type of thing, and he has a great ability to be able to, check out it, and it's great to have him be able to do that. To sit there and say, if they're going to leave 5 people, in the box, I've got 5 linemen, they've got 5 in the box, and guess what? I'm an extra guy, and that's a quick lesson that he's learned, and it's a great lesson that's worked out for him quite a bit. But he's becoming more dangerous on his rollouts, and I think his vision is becoming better. But the ability to make decisions like that, I think, is critical.
Yeah, he was certainly made some big decisions that helped Jericho. Again, he had some big runs for us that put us in the position where Kai could take advantage of some of those opportunities, as you mentioned. Josh Heath, you talked about him and hitting a field goal. It's a 32-yard field goal. We didn't win by a field goal, but boy, that field goal of cushion did help us. It's nice to have that feeling, and him being able to have a threat. I don't know. someone on the sideline that you can put in to make a play like that. It's comforting.
It is. I mean, we've been blessed to have a great kicker for the last 4 years with Trombo, and now here comes Heath, and he's doing a great job also. And the biggest thing is we've just had some situations this year where we've been on 4th down, and it's a 4th and an 8, a 4th and a 10, not necessarily a 4th and a 3, a 4th and a 2.
Right.
And it's kind of made the decision a little bit different. Whether or not to go for field goals or not. And so also the fact that, that combination, they're doing a great job at, and we haven't been that great sometimes. But I think in the last 2-3 weeks, they've worked at it. And I'm talking about the combination of our snapper, our holder, kicker, that 3-man group. One's got to be there all the time for everybody else. And I think, Tate's doing an outstanding job of working at it. Carson's doing an outstanding job with our snaps, and we're going to continue to get better.
Yeah, we certainly coming off of, we didn't talk about this last week, but we've talked on this in previous years about what homecoming can be. It can be a distraction sometimes. It can be a lot of things, and there was a lot of things going on last week with a lot of themes during the school day with homecoming. Of course, we had the big rally that took place at the high school the night before, but it almost seemed to fuel our guys. There was a good crowd on Friday night, and had a good student section. Our guys really rose to the challenge, and it really seemed to energize them.
Oh yeah, and we've got some good people around the school that are really helping generate. We lose 3-4 games in a row, and we still have people out there trying to help generate. I mean, yourself included, and our Leanna Michaels, helping with student section and stuff. And so we really appreciate the fact that and our cheerleaders, our band, everybody's trying to standing together. Nobody's really kind of dropped us.
Right.
I think as a matter of fact, everybody's trying to maybe kick in a little bit more to help out. So I think that's something that's very much appreciated and not lost amongst the football players.
Well, our guys, you could tell it meant something to them, and the celebration after the game. I think they stayed out for an extra band song just because they liked it so well.
Yeah, I think they were looking for the album version of it instead of just the 45.
Well, Coach, we're sitting with 2-6. Strange as our viewers might find this, we're right in the thick of playoffs. We haven't talked about that. We've got 2 games remaining. I know we take a week at a time, but with a young team, you're probably thinking, hey, we got a chance here if we can take care of business this week. And again, moving forward, we've got to put ourselves in a position for postseason. That's got to give them something to play for.
I think it will. And if every week, just the game itself is big, but I think this week, you're looking at the fact that we can stay in contention for it, and also, work on keeping that battered helmet and Piqua. And the following week, we can do the same thing. The last game of the season, stay in contention. Try to make sure we get a chance to get in there. And if you get in there at the 11th week of the season, anything can happen. I know, it just depends on how far, where you get, what you're doing. I know last year Xenia went in at number 1, and and unfortunately, they got beat the first week. I've seen some other teams, do this and this and this. You never know, and you also never know how good people. And I've said it before, how much better people are getting week to week, and also the injury factor. We're not the NFL. We don't have to announce who's hurt, who's not hurt, who's playing hurt, who's probable,
right,
and everything along those lines. So it is highly, especially this time of year, it is highly susceptible for a lot of high school football teams to be healthy and to try to make sure they got their best people on the field.
Coach, we say this year in and year out, this time of year when you get to weeks 9 and 10, it's not even so much about what your record is and how good you are, but how healthy you are. And right now we're healthy as we get ready for, again, fortunate, another rivalry game.
Yeah, it'll be a great game. We'll go down there, and we are healthy, and our players are looking forward to the game, and we've got some good days of practice ahead of us. Sidney's an outstanding football team this year. They do a lot of very good things that we've seen on film, and they start off the year, against Bell Fountain, which is one of the better teams, around, and then from that point on, they've been playing outstanding football.
Well, new coach in the program, so I know you take time in the off season to try to learn what other coaches, because they're bringing in, it's not going to be necessarily the same. Yeah. What are some differences that you see between Sidney this year and Sidney's in previous years?
Well, I think one of the biggest differences is the screen game's a little bit more going on, and I think the just a little bit more of the power run game, you know, with the quarterback read, and then just this, you know, some straight power running, you know, getting a lot of pulls. They're getting some linemen out and pulling and stuff like that. So we were able to look at some of the games from last year from another school that they were at, and then we're able to look at the games this year. So hopefully we'll be able to pick out, and make sure we've got enough stuff that we can try to deal with.
You touched offensively a little bit. What defensively can we expect to see from the Jackets?
Well, it looks defensively like they're doing something very similar to what they did last year. So that gives us a little bit of a better picture of what they'll do against our offense. But our offense is very similar to other people's offense. I mean, there's not a whole lot of differences. I know last week we talked about some of the schools going old school, and but there's a lot of teams that are shotgun spread, running running power game, running inside outside zone. So but it does give us a little bit of a handle as to how they're doing it.
Battle for the battered helmet. Again, we're very fortunate. We talked about this a few weeks ago when we played the other team down south. That we're lucky that we have two teams on our schedule that are a strong rivalry. Gives these guys something to play for again. But there's a different energy when you're playing in this game.
Definitely, there's definitely a different energy. We've talked about it before. The people that we play against sometimes are the people that in our town. Some people are Sidney rivalry, some people are Troy rivalry. We embrace them both, and it's just whatever it is that week. That's where we're heading with it, and this will be a big game for both communities.
Indians will again be at Sidney Memorial Stadium on Friday night with a 7 p.m. kickoff. You can catch it on WPTW, but also catch the Coaches Show. We'll talk about it next week here on the Bill Nieces Coaches Show. Coach, let's talk on the transition of the players. We got our two senior features tonight, Hayden Barker and Alex Millet. Talk a little bit about those two guys and how they have been a part of Pickle football.
Well, they're actually two completely different stories. The first one is that, Alex Millet. He's been in our program, for 4 years, and he never misses a practice, never misses, weight room. Comes in, works very hard, and does a lot of stuff for us on the scout team. He is one of those guys, along with James Hess and along with Marcy, that impersonate the other team's defense quite a bit. Does that. Today, as a matter of fact, at practice, he was running back kickoffs against our starting kickoff team. So he's out there really trying to help out any way he can. And the other big thing I like is a lot of those seniors, especially Alex, they don't become distractions. Meaning that they're supposed to be here on Saturdays, they come on Saturdays. They're supposed to be here, they come here, and you don't have to worry about them saying, well, I shouldn't have to do this or I shouldn't have to do this. They come, and we really appreciate everything Alex has done for our program. Now, on the other hand, Bark is new to us. He transferred in last year and got in a little late last year, so we weren't sure. He was a lineman, and it was really hard to get him in, what was he going to play, offense, defense, what's he going to do? This past offseason, though, what we've noticed toward the end of the year was he was a pretty good punter. And so he's worked at it. He's worked at it very hard. He came in this year, and he got the starting job as our punter. He's averaging over 42 yards a punt, doing a great job, has 4 of them pinned in. The one punt he had down there probably led to that interception more than anything else. So we're very pleased with what he does, and he's got good hands for a big guy. He's reeled in a couple balls and been able to pick it up and make the catch and stuff like that. We haven't got him on any fakes yet, so that'll probably be next for him.
Well, he did mention to me just a couple weeks ago in passing that he's really enjoyed learning the art of, and he called it the art of punting, angles and all those things that people don't necessarily think about when you think about punting. But he has really, of course, when you're watching Trombo, as good as he has been, he had some people to look at, and as you said, he puts us in a situation where he puts us in good field position.
I don't think he's missed a practice this year, and he comes out every day and punts, and we have situational stuff. We'll have a punt session. But then at any given point, like 20 minutes later, it's like punt team. And then all of a sudden, maybe 10 minutes later, punt team, trying to get it like in a game where the situation is, and he's out there ready to go and punts in between and stuff. So, yeah, we're fortunate. We're very happy with him and what he's done with our punts.
Well, you talk about Alex, and the guys that you talk about, Alex is here's a senior, and he's helping with the scout team, and he comes in with a good attitude about it, and the guy that you can count on. Everybody has a role. He understands his role, and he also understands and respects the tradition of Piqua football.
Exactly. And he's a guy that that's okay to be around, fun to be around. Kind of a quiet guy, but he does his stuff, and I'm very happy to have guys like that on our team.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna talk to those guys here shortly, but Coach, we wish you all the best as we head to City on Friday night.
Thank you.
We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk to Hayden and Alex. A little quiet, but I think they're gonna open up for you here. We're gonna talk a little bit about Piqua football and what their future might look like. We'll be right back. Welcome to part 2 of the Bill Nieces Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, and now is the players portion. They're gonna introduce their name and the position that they play.
My name's Hayden Barker, I'm punter.
My name is Alex Millet, and I play wide receiver.
Alex, let's start with you. This year, I know it's been a bit of a disappointment to be, in the position we are as far as record-wise, but you can tell, particularly the last game, things are really beginning. Well, maybe not the word beginning isn't. People are beginning to see the fruits of your labor. You guys have been putting this work in all year. What's it like, not just necessarily coming off a win, but what's it like to be part of this program for you, Alex?
I think it's nice. Like, we've worked really hard all season, and it's finally paying off. And everybody's excited. And I think we could just finish out with winning the rest of the next 2 games and see what we can do in the playoffs.
The camaraderie amongst you guys. You've been doing this here at Piqua for a long time. We talk about off season and the effort that you put into not just during the season. You're doing it in the off season, the summers. Do you feel like, hey, when you're a part of something bigger than yourself, it's pretty special for you? And how does that make you feel as far as, seeing that how this applies to your life down the road as you graduate?
I think it'll be just something good to look back at and see how we pushed. I don't know.
Push through. I got to believe it. It's got to help you with, when you get into some adverse situations after high school, maybe in a work situation, you've learned how to handle some adversity.
Yeah, because the year before, it's been we've dominated everybody in the season. We've had to really try and push to get our wins. So it's gonna be it would help me in my future.
Sure. Yeah, you appreciate a little bit more. Hayden, how about you?
Well, I think it's pretty nice with all the brotherhood that we have, and my transfer here last year, with just everybody accepting me like I was already part of their family. And I think it was real nice making that transfer, making me easier to move around to different places.
Hey, now your story, you came from Covington, you transferred from Covington, and you had mentioned to me a few weeks ago, that you said, hey, you thought that you were just impressed with the spirit of Piqua and how people really get into the games and just the crowd. Talk a little bit about that. What's something like that been like for you?
I think for me, it's a lot better because when I was in Covington, there's not that big crowd, and it's not energy boosting, but coming here, it's giving you that energy.
Big stadium atmosphere.
Yeah. Giving you that extra push to do better.
Guys, let's talk a little bit about just your futures. You guys at some point in time are going to be graduating, and you're going to be wearing, as I say to these guys every week, you're going to be wearing a different uniform here at Alexander Stadium in May when you walk across the stage. What's that look like for you guys as far as what are you thinking about post-graduation?
For me, I think I'm just going to work or between workforce and military. Probably currently working at Dick Lumpkin, so probably going to continue that.
Good.
I'm looking through what college I want to go to right now, but I'll probably go for business or something around there. Not really sure yet.
Still undecided?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we certainly wish you guys all the best. Guys, as you guys get 2 games left here in our regular season, a lot to play for, and certainly a rivalry game with Sidney coming up. I know that's got to excite you, so all the best to you.
Thank you.
Speaking of Sidney, the game will be Friday night at Sidney Memorial Stadium. The Indians will have a kickoff with the Jackets at 7 p.m. This is a big MVL matchup for both teams. You'll be able to catch all the information next week on the Coach's Show. It'll also be aired on WPTW AM and FM. For Alex and Hayden, I am your host, Chip Hare. We'll see you next week.